Warning. You're about to hear unfiltered insights about regenerative agriculture and our sovereign right to natural food. This is not just a podcast, but a patriotic movement against the tide of food ignorance and corporate food giants shaping our modern food system. It's time to feed the people.
Oh boy.
Well, we did it that time, didn't we?
Right on cue.
Man.
I get so fired up every time I listen to our intro. I'm like, yeah, we are.
We're just gonna use Skunk Holler for Bop or Flop every show when we switch to From the Farm.
Yes.
I was reaching for my harmonica that is not sitting here. I was going to join in on that. I love that music. That's great.
So good.
It's gonna be the only thing that we absolutely miss about using Feed the People is that we don't get Skunk Holler at the beginning of every show, but that'll be okay. We'll have a nice, beautiful song to support the app, and we'll just do that. How are y'all doing?
Good.
Yeah, real good.
Good. I've been nice and productive. I got 8 hours of sleep last night. Can you believe it? Because that doesn't make any sense. Ask me if
What?
Ask me if I've ever slept 8 hours.
Brooke, have you ever slept 8 hours?
I think one time, and it was after I did a 30-hour veteran event up in Boulder, Colorado.
Mm-hmm. That'd wipe you out for a minute.
Yeah, it ruined me. Absolutely. That's when I rolled my ankle like 3 times. I was black and blue. We were convinced I had torn something.
Oh, man.
Didn't, though. Went to my chiropractor, back home, and he adjusted that little sucker.
Nice.
Right as rain.
Nice. Yeah, usually we wake up and get like a stream of videos from you at 11 o'clock and midnight.
The text thread just starts filling up with memes and short reels.
Good last night. And I just went to bed, but I all of a sudden was like, I don't get sick and have to throw up. That's not something that happens to me very often.
Knock, knock.
Yeah.
But last night I was in bed, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go downstairs, and a bunch of my supplements I've ordered to help me sleep. Things that I had a late night, couldn't sleep. So I did a deep dive into everything Ben Greenfield uses for his sleep stack. And I made some purchases, and they've started to roll in. But as I was going downstairs, and I got this so hot but cold sensation all over my head and then down my body. So as I've got something microwaving, I'm laying on the kitchen floor. This will make me feel better. Got up, went back upstairs, and I was like, oh man, am I going to throw up right now? No, I'm not going to throw up right now. I'm going to go pee. I'm going pee, and I'm sitting on head, elbows on knees, oh, you're okay. No, yeah, you're fine. You don't need to throw up. No. And then I got up and I was like, oh no, I really don't feel good. So I laid on the bathroom floor in the feet on my side. And I'm like, oh, this feels better. Here comes my mom. And I'm like, oh shit, this is embarrassing. She's going to find me on the bathroom floor. She comes around the corner. She goes, are you okay? And I was like, I just started feeling like I was going to throw up a little bit. She goes, well, stand up. Let me see if you're pale. Stood up. She looked at me. She goes, just go to bed. I threw up after that. And then I went to bed, and then I put my sleep mask on and my, listening to my app, my sleep binaural beats and whatever else they mix in there. Woke up this morning and 8 hours. So maybe I needed a little bit of a spew and good sleep.
Little purging. Nice. Good.
The body did it, and I was like, that's not a normal thing for me. I don't get sick and puke unless I'm drunk.
Was it something new you took that you think it was related to?
No, I don't know. It could. The only thing I can relate it to is after I had dinner, I was taking all of my enzyme biooptimizer enzyme things. And
shout out Bioptimizers. Shout out. Just you're not even a producer of the show necessarily, but we just want to say thank you. for the amazing products that you make to support our health. We appreciate y'all.
But the HCL says, it can help facilitate protein breakdown. And I'm on the carnivore diet. And you know what? If you guys are listening to this, I'm guessing that the people that didn't agree with my very personal, educated, well thought out decision based on what is happening with my own health that not everybody needs to know about, it's good for me. And if you're also wondering why I would urge people to have a more protein forward diet, it would be because we're learning that they're going to put vaccines in our vegetables and our fruit. If you missed that, it was on my Instagram. I shared it. And Tennessee, the House was already, I think that's actually what I shared. There was a discussion because it hasn't happened yet, but that someone trying to implement some rules and regulation in order for someone to come to the grocery store to basically know what they're buying, know which vaccine. I'm like, and they referenced like the polio vaccine. I was like, you can put the polio vaccine in our lettuce?
What?
And then he was, talking, the House is almost
in my damn state, in my damn territory.
Your backyard, bro.
Yeah.
What?
So I'm pretty sure it's been passed to move to the next steps. But what they kept saying to him was like, well, is it even legal to sell that in our grocery store? And the guy's like, basically saying this is just precaution. It's like trying to be a step ahead. And I'm like, oh yeah, but maybe trying to be a step ahead, you might also be opening up the door, because once that comes, it'd be like, well, we already have regulation. We already got regulation. So like,
Damn.
Yeah, so
I was like, oh, so mom, our 10-day experiment is now a lifetime experiment.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. The conversation on that, somebody sent that to me and they're like, what's your take on this? And I said,
they're all from California, by the way, the studies and the people doing it from the colleges out there. Makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and the conversation they were having was not whether or not it should be legal, but whether or not they should put policies in place before it comes out so that they have regulations. That was the conversation. I'm like, well, the issue is not that they're talking about putting regulations in place. The issue is that they're even considering that we're
putting regulation in place.
Yeah, that we're going to do something that requires that shit in the first place. Like, no, how about you just don't touch our food? Let it grow naturally the way it's supposed to.
Well, and he references, Brooks, like saying, like, giving examples as to why we want this regulation. Well, if you come into the grocery store and you eat too much of something, you get overserved. Well, then you get overdosed. Mm-hmm. But if you come in, you don't get enough of something. And he references, AJ, do you remember the event he's talking about in the cattle industry? Something that they were underdosed something, which made them more susceptible to
I can't remember what it was, but
horn flies or something like that.
Horn flies.
Basically, he's like, this way you're giving people the information they need so they know what they're getting. And it's like, why? Wait, what are we doing? What are we doing? He said, so it would be considered a pharmaceutical. Would that food be considered a pharmaceutical? It's like Walgreens going to have a whole, like, in the pharmacy section, their food. I'm like, if they want to do that and this is going to happen, I ain't buying that shit. But you know how easy it will be for all those to just spill over?
Yep.
Just spill over into all the other areas, because you'd probably have this one world government's trying to.
That's classic Monsanto move right there.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that the classic Monsanto move? You get yourself upstream of another place that you want to take over, and then you put down your seed and you let nature blow your seed onto the other property, and then you're like, you stole our stuff. Bankruptcy for you, sir. We'll happily take that farmland from you. That's a classic Monsanto move. I wouldn't put it past them to use a previously successful tactic, but I'm desperately at this point looking for that lettuce clip. Okay. So if you yes, right now, just forward it to me, and it will be played on this show so we can get to the bottom of this.
Yeah. While you're loading that, what he's talking about is with the horn flies, they undertreated them. So the horn flies had an opportunity to build a resiliency to the the medicine to get rid of the horn flies. And so that was where that conversation was going. Well, what if you didn't eat enough? Your daily script is a head of lettuce or 2 tomatoes. Oh, you only ate 1 tomato. Well, now you didn't have enough of an effectiveness. So now that virus inside of you built up an immune tolerance. That's what they were discussing, is how do we regulate and handle dosage through food. And I'm sitting here thinking, and all I'm thinking is, why are we even having this conversation in the first place? Shouldn't the discussion you guys are having be solely about outlawing the production of food that has vaccines in it? That should be what you're actually talking about.
Right. Instead of how we're going to manage it in the inevitable future where it is already existing.
Yeah. Because, Jurassic Park, nature always
finds a way.
It's like, nature, come on, guys.
Finds a way.
It's the wrong conversation we're having here.
All right. So I had screen recorded it. Mm-hmm. I said that to you, Brooks, because I tried to go back in and see if I could find it really quick. Because usually if I find anything, I always send it to Devin. I send it to AJ. I send it to you guys, in order for me to kind of save it. But those videos also like to get taken down, videos like that.
Yeah.
So I texted it to you as a screen recording, and it's 3-minute clip, but probably minus a little bit because, when you start the screen recording, you got to scroll back to start it over.
I'll let you know when I get it.
Okay.
Yeah, might even be able to find.
If you find it, forward it to Serious Fun Media, and that way I can keep it all in one place. If you find it on Instagram. That is
the TN.
Oh, it has been deleted.
Yep. Good thing I screen recorded it.
What? Look at that. Oh no. Oh my God. Actually, you know what? It's more like.
Yeah, that's the right tone.
That's the right tone.
That was sent to me so many times. It's wild. They actually, it's not surprising. It's the dystopia we live in.
All right.
It has been removed.
Well, we will circle back to that. We have a beautiful thing to share, which is that we have a producer who has been regularly sending us clips. And I want to go ahead and give her a shout out. Her name is Liz Wallace. Liz Wallace Creative on Instagram. She's an avid listener to the show. She also commented and wanted y'all to know that she loved last week's show. So whatever we got into, outside of Brooke getting yelled at about her carnivore experiment.
Getting yelled at because I live at home and I'm now.
And you're somehow perpetuating all that is wrong with health and wellness industry, unbeknownst to anybody.
As if my background and who I am would never give you the clue that, like, I bet she's done some research. I bet there's a reason why she's doing it.
What do you think? You're making informed choices about your health?
Yeah.
No, you didn't read enough research papers. Okay, Brooke? Okay, that's your problem.
It's funny, though, because my mom feels great.
But Liz?
Dad's feeling good. Sister's feeling good. Inflammation's just disappearing off of them.
Oh, God, wouldn't you believe it?
Better, and I'm making sure I don't lose any more weight. I'm just trying to get feeling better, sleeping better, one step at a time, you guys. I'm on my way. It's going to be a road, but I have recovered from things many a times.
Few people understand
recovering.
Few people understand the amount of wear and tear it takes to be a professional CrossFit athlete. Like virtually zero actually understand what that does to a human body. It's a really tough sport. And Brooke has competed at the highest level, and that has had consequences. It's just, there is a moment in an athlete's professional trajectory where the only way to increase performance is to decrease your health. It's literally the only way is to trade off health for that extra bit of performance. And the longer that
you pay to play, in anything you do. NFL pay to play. Freak, team rope and pay to play, ranching, pay to play.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be active, you want to be physical, you want to work hard, you're going to pay to play. And that's, we used to talk about it in terms of like fitness, because people that would be like, oh, CrossFit's bad. Oh, you just get injured there. It's like, well, hang on. We all can get injured doing anything. A buddy of mine that quit a CrossFit gym, an old buddy of mine, not a buddy anymore, but quit his CrossFit gym because he just thought it was, kind of reckless and programming, tore his ACL playing racquetball.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You know, so
Now this is the appropriate time for that one.
A strong body is a healthier one, no matter what. And if you're active and you like to do new things, or you like to be active, play different sports, well, any amount of exercise and attention to detail you put into getting stronger and your mobility and things like that, even though you may get tweaks or aches or pains because you pay to play and we're all getting older, you will be able to recover from it better and faster.
Yeah.
So
I'd rather deal with those things than hypertension or, artery blockages getting out of breath, walking up my stairs. Because
that happens to me currently, but that's just because
seasons of life.
I'm a mixed bag right now.
Yes.
We're figuring it out.
I remember having conversations about this a long time ago when I owned a CrossFit gym, and it was like, we've never seen human the output of energy at this level with the wide diversity of movements and modal demands that are being required of the athlete ever. And so we're watching people that did perform at that level. We're really going to get to learn, okay, what does that look like as you age? Like looking at guys like Froning and Frazier and, what does that look like when you've been at the top of that level for so long? Can you age and still be in your 60s and be functioning? Or are we going to see a manifestation of something later on that nobody really knows?
My theory is that it depends on when you started, at which age, and depends on how much, right? How long were you in that cycle? When you're in it, it's very hard to get out of. I mean, I was forced to sit on the bench because I had to have a cervical fusion.
And now every time I watch handstand push-ups, I'm like, frick.
And I will tell you though, when I was competing, dude, I was anything like that. I was like, I will kill myself to win this workout.
I believe it.
So I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about it. And I accept things I'm dealing with. And in terms of like my health and my blood work, almost identical to a very good friend of mine who competed at the highest level, who does not anymore. So we're very different. Where we're from, our blood, everything is completely different. Our ancestry is completely different, but our blood work was like, very similar, And so I think that it would be hard to make changes on a big scale to try and help that. No, this comes down to you as an individual. It's our own choice. It's our own choice to keep going. But I do understand, and this is very true, when you are in it, the community is fantastic. The excitement, it's fun.
Oh, the endorphins. The endorphins.
But 100%, like, it's very difficult to get out of that wheel, because it's just like the wheel of time. And I was noticing that when I was still competing, and noticing that it was like, shit, this was what everyone's still doing. Like, what are we going to be doing next year? Oh, same thing. So my year's planned out for me. I go here, I go here, I go here. These are the times of year I get to do anything for fun. And I travel, and then I rarely see my family. And it was like, man, I'm about to get too old for this, to that be my life. And I mean, a blessing and a curse, but the blessing was all the surgery and things I had to go through, because it forced me. I couldn't do anything. And I've always had a knack for business. I've always had I'm an idea person. I'm a visionary. And when I just was sitting and couldn't do anything, that gave me time to think outside the box, think about other things I wanted to do, accept opportunities that were coming my way, and do I miss it? Of course I do. But I miss it if I were still that person. And when I say that person, I mean, even just that physicality. Like, I am not a CrossFit Games athlete anymore. I could not go to the CrossFit Games. I could probably impress you with some things,
invite me to a local throwdown and I'll throw down.
Come to a local throwdown. I will be on the mic. You guys are going to do it yourself.
Yes, exactly.
I'm not enough competing for myself. What I want to compete in now is freaking team open, dude.
And I'm
strong enough that I can do some bulldogging.
Bulldog,
Yes.
and I knew you were going to say bulldog. I want to, I'm in a different season.
My body couldn't do it right now, but
I got to take care of my body. But I'm going to jump off a horse and tackle a steer.
Yeah.
Going
30 miles an hour.
Hell yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is so great. Yeah, well, I mean, as the listener might imagine, you get 3 recovering CrossFitters on a podcast, and this this tone can take a shift really quick, because I'm sure we could talk shop and training talk all day long, and it's relevant to a degree.
Yeah, that's not what we're here for.
Yeah, that's not what we're here for. We're here because I believe that this clip alone would allow us to fill some airtime. Here we are. We got 20 and a half minutes in. But Liz Wallace sent this. It wasn't the right time to share it just based on the other conversations that we had. But again, I just knew right away there were some hot buttons in here. And so if you're ready, I'll go ahead and play it, and then we'll get some AJ and Brooke live reaction. All right, right on.
2 criminal billionaires are destroying American cattle ranching in the Amazon rainforest, and you can do something about it. Josley and Wesley Batista turned Brazilian-based JBS Foods into a conglomerate that now controls over 25% of American beef processing capacity and is a primary reason for why your beef prices keep increasing. The Batistas grew JBS through acquisitions they gained by bribing over 1,900 government officials with $186 million in bribes. The brothers were imprisoned in Brazil and separately fined over $200 million by the U.S. Department of Justice. As recently as December 20th, the Minister of the Federal Supreme Court of Brazil, Dias Toffoli, made headlines when he suspended the $2.1 billion in fines the Batistas were ordered to pay as part of their plea bargain deal for their corruption. Conveniently, the Supreme Court Justice's wife, Roberta Rangel, is a lawyer for the Batistas' investment vehicle. Critics see this as further evidence that the Batistas will continue to use any means necessary to gain more money and more power. JBS tried to file for an IPO 7 years ago, but were forced to delay their plans due to long lists of criminal allegations and scandals. Now, JBS Foods is attempting to list its shares on the New York Stock Exchange again, which is where your action is needed. The Batista brothers already own the largest stake in JBS at 42% through their investment vehicle J&F Investimentos SA, and the IPO could give the Batista family up to 90% control of the company, which would completely dilute any power that shareholders could have to hold them accountable. To help fight the IPO, share this video, comment "Ban the Batistas," and use the URL in my bio to send a pre-drafted email to the New York Stock Exchange and the SEC. The Batistas' rampant corruption runs even deeper. JBS is currently being investigated for using the Holcomb County Tyson plant fire in the COVID pandemic to fix beef prices in the United States. JBS decreased what they paid to American beef producers while charging more from retailers, which ultimately led to you paying more for your beef. And it doesn't stop there. JBS knowingly sold rotten meat domestically and into foreign markets and tried to cover it up. Brazilian environmental agents also discovered that JBS has continually sourced beef from illegal deforestation operations in the Amazon rainforest and displaced native tribes. A report found that 17% of JBS's cattle came from irregular ranches linked to deforestation. This beef can be shipped to the United States and packaged here and sold as a product of the USA because of labeling law loopholes. The IPO is concerning because it will give the Batistas more control and access to capital, which they will use to continue consolidating power of American meat processing, which will lead to higher prices and cripple more American ranchers. A bipartisan group of 15 senators sent a letter to the SEC last week to raise these concerns with JBS's IPO. The New York Stock Exchange and SEC should prevent the IPO, and we all need to work together to make them do this. Besides joining the fight against JBS, the other best thing you can do is to support your local ranchers.
Man.
Yeah.
Whew, shout out that guy.
Yeah.
My health forward. A lot of information in a very short amount of time. Very well packaged. Great job. Thank you for being a producer of the Feed the People podcast.
Yeah, that's Matthew. Matthew and I have been in contact from My Health Forward. Great young man. Lives somewhere here in Wyoming, but he does a great job with his ability to get out a ton of information in short clips, and it's all really solid information. So definitely recommend people following My Health Forward to stay informed. He does a good job. But when it comes to Brazilian owned beef, you know that 2 of our 4, let me clean, this is actually a good time to clean this up. I've learned some things, as I'm always learning.
Oh my God. You're telling me, wait. Oh my God. You're telling us new shit has come to light?
You got to have that button ready. Yes, new shit has come to light.
I will. It's like, yeah.
Here's so 4 companies control 85% of the market, right? 4 companies. In the past, I've said it's 2 or foreign owned, Brazil and China. That's not true, actually. Cargill is U.S., JBS is Brazil, National Beef has been sold to Morfrig, which is Brazil. And the other one, Tyson, which we were calling a Chinese-owned company, that's where the major mistake is. It's actually a publicly traded company. So it's not owned by China. It's a publicly traded company. Didn't know that. I was putting out a lot of information about China owning that company. That's not true. It's a publicly traded company, so there's a lot of shareholders from all over the world. But
yeah, is that better? Not sure.
No, it's no better. I mean, we still 2 of the 4 that control 80. Yeah, 4 that control 85% are still Brazilian-owned entities. I would not even be surprised if the Batista brothers were also connected to this other Brazilian Morfrig company. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised. Now, specifically related to this company, what I would say is that when people say about what we're doing with From the Farm and that we need to be careful and the government's going to come after us, the government might only come after us in policy alone, but they're definitely not our threat. The threat is the world has now been controlled and taken over by corporations, by money, not by kings and queens or by dictators anymore. It's by corporations that control everything that's happening.
Everything.
Our politicians in the U.S. make decisions based off of where
their money comes from.
How do you get into office when you're making less than $200,000 a year, but you leave with millions of dollars? It's because the corporations control everything. Our threat is not policy for the sake of politicians. It's the lobbyists who pay the politicians to put the regulations in place. And when you have the world's largest, not just the nation's largest, JBS is the world's largest meat seller corporation. They are trying to become public again. That's what he was saying in that clip. Like they're trying to do it again. This is our threat. Our threat is corporations controlling things. When you see policies being handed down and you think it's the elected official that did that, I want you to understand that that is not what's happening. It wasn't the elected official's idea. They're a puppet. They're sitting there waiting for somebody to bring them something to work on. And usually it's an underhand table cash payout somewhere else happening. So when you see bad policy and you're like, why the hell would my rep do that? It wasn't your rep. Your rep was bought and paid for by a corporation that wanted them to do that. Yep. This is what we're dealing with. It's a global issue, especially it's a global issue in first world developed countries. Third world developed countries are still trying to figure out how to eat. First world developed countries, they're trying to figure out how to not be taken over by corporations. I mean, that's where we're at. That's what's happening. So
not a lot of people understand that there are a lot of corporations that have larger economic power than most nations.
Well, I watched a video. I wish I was better at being able to regurgitate the information that I took in, but just a big issue with, we're not going to have like small businesses much longer. There is big corporations, basically, I can't remember the word for it, coming in and buying up all of those small privately owned businesses and local businesses, and everything's going to be controlled by the same motherfuckers.
Yep.
And that should scare you. And if you're listening, you're like, but like life's pretty good.
Yeah.
Wake up, man. Wake up. Do you want to be able to do anything for yourself?
Yeah.
It's
like another.
It's really a very scary time we live in, and people think I'm so crazy.
Yeah.
And what really makes me feel good though is knowing that like Andy Frisella, me and him chat all the time. There are people that I look up to, and they know what's up. So I really don't care about the people who still are asleep and they just want to have their comfortable life and their, no problems. They don't want to know what's going on. It's too much real life. It's like, I don't want to know. It's like, dude, at some point you're going to know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the only way. And like what Andy Frisella said, is like the only way we get out of this is people. People have to start speaking up, doing something about it, not waiting for somebody else to do it for you. Now we understand, again, we talked about it because from the farm, not everyone can go and like get their hands dirty, but stop grocery shopping at a regular ass grocery store. Start knowing your producer. Pay attention to what we have coming from the farm, because we are ready to hit the ground running, because we have to.
Mm-hmm.
We never wanted to launch this fast, but we have to. So we're doing it.
Yeah. It's a new form of communism, corporatism. Let's just call it corporatism.
No, it is.
But it is.
It's
It's
literally
communism.
what it is.
It's we own everything, whether it's state or big corporation. We own everything. So it's the same. It's communism. And you can't do anything. I was listening a few years back to a woman in Africa talking about, she was an entrepreneur, and she's like, if you really care and want to see Africa turn around, promote entrepreneurship. If you want to see this country turn around, the country needs to support entrepreneurship, because that's the difference. Pure capitalism or conscious capitalism, when meaning anybody who has an idea and puts in the work and can develop it and be of service to the people around them, that's freedom. But we are quickly moving into a state where everything that we have access to comes from a very small number of corporations. Like,
have you seen the interviews of people, like younger kids? I've seen them up in Canada and in the US, that they're advocating communism here.
Yeah.
And usually the people is like, have you ever been to China? Which comes back to like what you've talked about, Brooks, is like, have you ever been there? You think that's a good place, good way to live? And people are like, yeah. And it's like, well, where'd you see it? On TikTok?
Yeah.
Oh, you saw all the best parts of it, just places to visit, but you didn't see what it's like to live there, the day to day, what it's like to live there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, it's like just idiots.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's like, you can't fix stupid. We got to wait for you to wake yourself up.
You have to be imbalanced in the mind, in the psyche, to believe that that's true.
It's true. I mean, listen, I'm not, you're certainly preaching to the choir on the lack of, experience of the average American consumer. I promise you, we're on the same page about that. And the beautiful, so I have a comment, which is, I agree with Brooke's assessment that like there's the small business, the mid-sized business is being eliminated. And there's just like this massive diversion that's happening towards like huge, and then the one person business model where one person figures out how to solve a problem and then just explains how they solve that problem and becomes a value. And then they get the value for value exchange of having solved that problem. So in that sense, it's like never been better to be an independent anything than it ever has been right now, because
That's
technology has leveled the playing field in such a way. I watched the other day, the Code of the West account went live, and I was like, I'm going to watch this. And Brooke, Chris Hunt, exactly
Hunt.
Right. And his Instagram, Code of the West, one of his Instagram pages is hitting that thing where it's like, it's starting to speed up. It was like a week and a half ago, he was at like 6,000 followers. Now he's doubled in size. He's probably well over 13 or 14,000 in the last 24 hours. But I was sitting down with him, and I rarely watch lives like this, but I was like, what's this guy up to? He seems like a fun watch. And we were having coffee at the same time. And I ended up like texting in, like so-and-so and so-and-so. And he was answering his questions. And one of the things that came up was just how amazing it is that now technology has leveled so much of the playing field that he was able to Instagram live in like a cinematic depth, like that beautiful cinematic depth from like a phone, and he's running his microphone to his phone so he sounds good live, and he's just there hanging out with people drinking coffee. And the same thing can be said for his animation. The same thing could be said for musicians. If you're a painter, it's never been a better time to run the one-person business model, and we should be celebrating that.
Yeah.
And we need to be aware of what Brooke is describing, which is people are gobbling up these.
More media, then
Yes.
It's really easy to, like flipping a light switch, you have no more business. If your business is in your Instagram, no more business. Oh, new platform, no more business.
Yeah.
Oh, you got blocked? Oh, no more business. That's the scary part. That is the part that I always communicate to younger kids is like, yes, this seems cool. What I do, it seems cool. I'm like, but every day I know that it could be gone in the blink of an eye. You know, and I've always understood that to where I've always took on opportunities or tried something new that's outside of it functions outside of what you see on Instagram, because everything is tied to Instagram and social media, businesses, hotels, banks, insurance, like everything. Everyone has an Instagram, but that can't be where you make your money all the way.
What a great plug. What a great plug for things like podcasting 2.0 apps, which are decentralized and we can't be kicked off of. That's exactly why we host on platforms just like that. If you are unfamiliar with this term, decentralized, consider doing some basic low-level investigation into that word alone, and then start to look for places where things are being decentralized. Brooke is describing it's a very centralized platform where everybody's on, and if they turn that off, then you've lost all of your power. But you can get a decentralized email address that can't kick you off or filter your email. You can get a decentralized web platform instead of the standard Google Chrome, so you can search freely. The technology is available. It just takes a little bit of elbow grease, just a little bit of self-empowerment and education, and you can start to have your own separate ecosystems that you can participate in the Instagrams or the X's or the YouTubes, participate in them, but always be leading them and funneling them back to your thing, which is likely capturing email addresses and having your own website that people can't kick you off of. There's no like police keeping you off the internet. They may not be able to find you in the search engines necessarily because they can do that too. But the more you start to connect directly with the person that's receiving the value, and that's what I love so much about the From the Farm app, is that I'm developing a personal relationship with my farmer or rancher, and I can reach out and I can literally shake the hand that feeds me.
Yeah. We are a perfect example of benefiting from the advancement of technology, and also because the way we understand the world, we are putting in systems in place that doesn't cripple us. One of the most common, let me back up just real quick. So, our advisor, our chief technology officer, built a software, just exited, super successful story, started in 2007, exits 2024, right? So it takes work, it takes time. The difference, though, is in 2007, the technology that existed for him was way more antiquated than it is for us. For example, the wireframe that I put together or had put together, the wireframe is like you have a vision about a way you want something to work on a technology platform. It's like blueprints to build a house. The wireframe tells your designers or your builders what that's going to look like. So if you click the home button, where does it go? If you click the about button, where does it go? If I click on this farm, it's very complicated. But so we were talking to him and he goes, man, when I did mine, it took 12 months. This was 2011. It took 12 months and I think he said like $25,000 to build a wireframe. I built ours hiring some kid from Pakistan on Fiverr, $640, and he had it done in 4 weeks. And so that's an example of how technology is allowing us to collapse time to produce and create things. Now, with the other side of this conversation, well, how do you keep it from being taken away? Well, one is that we built our own native platform. So we're not hosted anywhere. Our website is hosted, but it's our software, it's our tech. And then we go beyond that, because a common question that we get is, well, what happens when the grid goes down? Or typically it's what happens when they shut the grid down? That's really what the question is. Good question. That's why our mission exists to help you shake the hand that feeds you. Because if the grid goes down, you know the person, the place, and the time that you can meet them to at least exchange, even if it's bartering in this particular case, to still feed your family. And in addition to that, we will build, as we scale, designated pickup locations, like let's say a from the farm farmers market. Well, that's not digital. We made the connection. Now come to the farmers market. And by the way,
from the farmers market.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey,
and by the way,
from the farmers market.
Mm-hmm. From the farmers market.
From the farm.
By the way,
market.
Yeah.
From the farmers market.
It's an actual farmers market, not a craft fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no.
Let me just distinguish that.
There will be food.
Frustrating things. Yeah, one of the most frustrating things to me is somebody calling something a farmer's market and it's trinkets.
Yep.
It's like, where's the food? Where's the farmers?
Exactly.
It's an artisan market, not a farmer's market. So label it that way.
That's a farmer's market currently in our town.
Yeah.
But not for long, because from the farmer's market's coming.
Let's go.
That's
coming
right.
to a town near you.
That's right. And those things exist because what we've been designing is solutions for the problems that we know exists. You know, the producers aren't making enough money, so we're losing them. Let's get more of the money to the producers and cut out all these middlemen so they're getting the retail dollar, not just a small, tiny piece of even lower than wholesale.
Well, and just a quick note on that, because after you, AJ, spoke about like the whole Big Four and everything like that, and like what's happening and what the clip was about and going public. When you hear something like that, that should light a fire under you even more to go to your producer and go help them. It's not like, oh, we want them to be millionaires. We want them to make a bunch of money. No. We want them to be able to live and get paid for their hard work and take care of their family with ease and be able to fight those guys when they can and not be worried about they won't have the funds to do it. I mean, if you have to get a lawyer, a lot of money. Every time they talk, a lot of money. The only way we can help keep them in business is by putting money in their pocket. And how we do that? Me and AJ are connecting you with them. We've had our Discord group. We've been connecting people across the entire country since, when did we start that? A year ago?
Probably a year ago. Yep.
You know, and so we are going to do everything we can to help solve as many problems as we possibly can. And along the way, we are picking up people that have the same vision and different ideas or working on something slightly different. This is a community effort to really, really, truly create change. This is not we want to be the best. We want to be the ones to do it. No. We need, if you're out there and you're working on something or you have ideas, do it. Connect with us and do it. And we will do what we can to support you, and you do what you can to support us, because we're all just trying to, well, save the West, you know, for lack of better words.
Yeah. Yeah. Other things that was brought up in that clip, which is true. I saw a documentary a couple of years ago about they said displacing indigenous tribes in Brazil. That's a kind way to say tribes are being murdered to clear out the jungle so that they can grow food. Or so that they can graze cattle, not grow food, but graze cattle. Why? Because when the prices for producers in the U.S. go up, the big guys have to maximize profits, right, wrong, or indifferent. I mean, it's wrong because the consequences of such, right? This is where the problem of capitalism versus conscious capitalism diverge, right? So prices are going up. It's going to reduce their shareholders' ROI or returns. So we need to import more, because we don't want to pay the American producers, but we still got to keep our inventory up. So we're going to increase the number of cattle we're buying from Brazil. Well, Brazil is out of grazing land. So what do we got to do? Oh, these illegal caballeros are off in the jungle, clear cutting in the entire forest, the bio pump for our entire planet, so that they can raise more beef that technically we should be raising here in the United States, because we have hundreds of millions of acres of Western ground going fallow because there is not enough livestock. The BLM is destroying the West with their AUM policies. They're the problem. It's policy that's the problem.
BOG, Bureau of Land Management. Just want to bring that back. Bureau of Land Management.
I appreciate that.
A lot of people nowadays probably don't even know who they are.
They don't. They think
The original BLM, yeah.
Yeah, the original BLM. So
OGs.
they're part of the Department of the Interior, and they set regulations on how many cows that a rancher can run on ground. And they're supposed to be doing that based off how many wildlife are there, so that there's enough for all, right? So look, it's not a bad idea that there's consideration made for the deer and the elk and the bison where I live and the bighorn sheep. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is you get these special interest groups like the Western Watershed who put pressure and they put lawsuits on the Bureau of Land Management to sue to where cattle are taken off the land, which, by the way, you go do the research on who's funding, who's donating to Western Watershed.
I was going to say, it would be really easy for someone who isn't too much in the know to listen to what AJ's talking about and think what we really got to do is they got to solve all those problems overseas and in Brazil. So if you're thinking that corporations and people in the U.S. don't have a financial interest in all of that goes on, you crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
There's a reason why in America we can't just be like, you guys just can't do business here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because all the people, they're making a lot of money. So why else would the corporations be able to control those who are creating regulation or rules, people in office, right? It's the corporations that control it. If that's where all the money is, of course they're going to import more and export more and kill off our birds and kill off our dumping milk, kill off our cows, create more regulation where farmers can't. Oh, carbon. What are you putting off? What are you putting back into the ground? Create all these rules. And it's like, oh man, the planet worked just fine the way it did for a long time.
Yeah. It's all about shaping
science that comes out and backs it, but yet it's just not taught and it's overlooked because all you have to do is do something crazy over here. Oh, this is all happening. Everyone's like, oh my God. And then they pass some shit over here and you're like, wait, what's happening? Life seems all right though. Let's just move on. Mm-hmm. And that's how we live. Well, I don't.
Yeah. The big companies are certainly even shaping the way that the politicians think about the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It is money, and it is also that they have the ear, and that system is believed by the system. Like it's a self-affirming, it's like a self-affirming cycle that if you got in the room, then you're the most qualified to speak on this issue. And that is not true.
Like Bill Gates. Why are we talking about food, dude?
Yes.
You a food guy? No, clearly. Can't tell by looking at you.
You're a suit.
Yes. If you can fit in one. What I wanted to compare it to is the Oxycontin epidemic, right? When you watch the movie, you see them, they go out and they get all these really lively college kids, like to be a sales rep, work for the pharmaceutical industry. And this girl who's like the main person, I don't remember, I don't remember what the name of that documentary was, the most recent one. Anyways, she did not know what she was talking about, but she thought she did. Everything that they told her about the drug, that was truth. It doesn't do that. It won't do that. Yeah. And then they go and they take that information and they go to their doctors and they spill that shit and they tell them this, and they tell them this. All the while, the information that was given to them was just for the sole purpose of making money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's how things function.
Yep. And it exists. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to upset some people, but if you take a minute and understand where I'm coming from, it's not intended to, it just needs to be said. That exists in the agricultural space too. There's a lot of practices that our farmers and ranchers are doing that either were handed down to them if they're younger because their dad taught them, or you, the dad, are still doing them. And you were taught by somebody who was paid a lot of money to convince you that this is what needs to happen. Let me just say, I'll give one simple example, but there's so many more, and I don't need to go on a rant to this, but everybody needs to have a soft heart to being impressed on the things that need to be done or transition, and not have a flag planted if it's not working. Or not working like we would like it to. And so the example I'll bring up is deworming your livestock. Deworming your livestock is necessary when your livestock are living in confinement because of They're in confinement and they're going to have exposure to other parasites. That's necessary. And I'm not even speaking against confinement, because in certain our country, we need it right now. We need it. We live in a system that's required. So I'm not vilifying that. You choose if that's the meat you want to buy, but it's essential. If you like going to Vegas and going to a nice restaurant, it is essential. If you, let me just rephrase that. It doesn't have to be Vegas. If you like going to any restaurant in any town across the entire United States, they exist and have the meat to sell you because of concentrated animal feed lots. That's how it exists. That's just how it is. Now, let me get back to the ivermectin, the deworming. It has a trickle down consequence in nature that was most likely not understood back when it was promoted. But it's like 2 years ago here in Cody, we had a major flood in Yellowstone, and it shut down Yellowstone, which was a huge problem for all of the small towns that surround Yellowstone because the tourism and the tourism dollars. What the news talked about was major flood. All these roads are closed. Everything, if you had plans for Yellowstone, cancel them. Well, the resilient people in the West that live in these communities around Yellowstone, they got their asses to work. And like Red Lodge, for example, which is just 45, 50 minutes for me, they were open in 2 weeks. But do you know what the news didn't do? They didn't bother saying, oh, by the way, these guys worked their asses off. Nation, you should know Yellowstone is open for business. Keep your plans. These guys got to work. They didn't do that. So tying it back into the ivermectin, now we know when you deworm, you're also killing all the beneficial insects that would then take that manure and put it into the soil so that it can increase the soil health. That's why if you go out to a pasture in the West and you find a solid brick of manure, a cow pie, it shouldn't be there. No. That cow pie should not exist, especially in that solid state. That should have been destroyed and eaten by dung beetles and all other sorts of insects that are beneficial to our environment. So back to what the whole point was, somebody was sold that this is what you have to have. You need ivermectin to treat your animals so that they don't get worms. But if you followed traditional methods, you would actually discover like, oh, wait a minute, I don't need to deworm. And then that trickles down to other things. Oh, wait a minute, I don't need herbicides, pesticides, fungicides. I don't need all of these things if I work in harmony with nature. Just how the government agencies and people have been bought out by big corporations, so have our farmers, our doctors, our banks, our teachers. Any institution in the United States you can probably look at and find evidence that they have been bought and paid for by, corporations, by the new communism.
And the thing about that, because that's the truth. But I understand how people might feel, when we learn that we've been doing something wrong, or we've been given the wrong information or the lack thereof, it doesn't feel good. So you're like, oh, I get defensive. And it's like, well, you know what you're talking about. It's like, it's just going to be better for everybody if we all just got on the same page of like, let's just take some responsibility and know that it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay if you were doing it wrong. It's okay to realize that in medical school, you ain't getting told the whole truth. Okay. And it's unfortunate that that's actually our reality. You got people growing up wanting to go to medical school, go to law school, whatever, let's just talk about to be a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're going to learn what you're told. You're going to read what's in those textbooks. But you have to take it upon yourself if you already kind of know, like, I know there's more to it than what this textbook says. I'm going to go back years and years and years, and I'm going to find this textbook, that edition. Let's see what it says. But that's on kind of like to each their own to continue education. But it's better to know, like, be aware that they're probably going to not be telling you everything.
Yeah.
Going into it, because it just makes you want to know more. It'll make it more exciting to do your own education, because when you truly want to be the best at that, or people going into be a doctor because they really want to help people, they really want to save lives, all these things. It is so unfortunate to know that all those institutions and with education is so corrupted.
And it's actually really simple to follow along their line of thinking. All of the techniques that AJ described that were used were all designed to promote predictability. The reason that those herbicides and pesticides were used is because it increased the predictability of behavior of the thing that they, because they're forecasting into the future. Again, they're forecasting into the future. And most of these things that were introduced, whether it was in this generation or prior, by big organizations or entities, when you're operating at large scales, you have chaos without predictability. It's insane the level of sophistication it takes to keep something of that scale going. So all of these decisions, some could see them as nefarious and intentionally nefarious. I tend to fall somewhere along the fault line, which is like, there's got to be a practical reason that this was initiated as opposed to like the emotional response that it creates. And in this case, it's about predictability. Why introduce these things? Because it makes it predictable. Why deworm every cow? Well, I can't predict which cow might have worms. We just need to deworm every cow. That way it increases the predictability of the outcome. And when you are trying to maximize profits, when you're trying to maximize return on investment, predictability is a big part of the experiment and the process.
The issue is not that part. The issue is that once it's in place, why would they take it out if now they can capitalize on it? That is the issue. Right. It's not that, like, it makes complete sense for what you're saying, but nothing is ever taken out. Just like us industrializing food production was never supposed to be the way that it was. And we've talked about it on here. AJ has given really good information because I'm not the one to tell you all that information, but it's, we'll just sell them this. We'll just repurpose it. Oh, we'll just repurpose it here. Like we don't need to worry about that. And it's working fine. Clearly, like whatever comes downstream won't be our problem. Anyways, we won't be here.
Yeah.
That is the problem because it's people being with self-interest.
Yeah.
Well, how can I benefit from this?
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be my kid's problem, not mine. Self-interest. The issue is people caring more about themselves than looking around and caring about what we have together.
Yeah. A mentor once told me that it's not that a company will make a mistake and that's a problem. It's what they're willing to do about the mistake that makes a difference for who that company is. And so like Brooks is, like you're both saying, the ideas that they started out with, they didn't know the consequences, most likely did not know the negative consequences. It was predictable. If we do this, we'll get this. That's going to be great. The issue comes from the lack of them taking responsibility because they don't want to lose the control or the profit that came from it. They don't dare give that up, or they don't want to give it up.
Pass the buck.
Yeah.
Someone else's problem.
I met a guy who went to school to be a chemist, and his whole career and company was built around herbicides, pesticides, and fungicides. And you met him, long hair, barefoot guy at this conference. Mm-hmm. He's awesome. We'll probably have him on the show. Cody Burr. He's got this whole business going, and then he gets an aha moment that he's destroying the microbiology in the soil. The guy shuts down his entire company and transitions to a whole different way of doing business that promotes the growth of the biology in the soil. Do you think that was a cheap transition?
Well, and his family ranches. So like having that realization, it was like, oh no, like he understood the importance of our soil and the importance of our food and importance of the life that eats it, that the experience of life for those animals, and we are so grateful for him because he's doing a lot of very, very cool stuff.
Yeah. I was trying to look him up real quick, but I can't find it. But yeah, so now he's transitioned and now he does soil microbes, which is a completely opposite transition. And now imagine can you imagine, like, he's an everyday guy just like us, had a startup and was doing his thing. Imagine the transition and the financial costs and the faith that he had to have to make that switch. And yet you've got people that have billions that would not feel the personal financial strain to make that same transition, who refuse to do it. That's what it means to judge somebody based off of not the mistakes they made, but what they're willing to do to correct those mistakes. Because we're all going to make them. I mean, as we launch From the Farm, we're going to make some mistakes. But we have a true North Star that Every decision we make is based off following that true North Star. And if we find out we've made a mistake and it's deviating us from that course, that's an easy course correction, because we're solely committed to the decentralization or the creation of a parallel food buying economy that benefits the producer above all. That's our true North Star. Any decision we make, does it benefit the producer first? That's it.
It's hard to argue with that philosophy. I'm just going to say.
We think so. I
You
think
know
that's
what?
why we're going to win.
This is, and to do that, we got some people we'd like to thank.
Yes.
Oh, dear listener, here we are. It is the producer segment of the Feed the People podcast, soon to be From the Farm. And this little ditty right here, you're going to be hearing it a lot more at the beginning of the show and not in the middle of the show. And this is the time in the show where we just want to say thank you. Thank you for your time, thank you for your talent, and thank you for your treasure. No treasure donors today, and that's okay. No problem. We will have a repeat treasure donor in about 3 or 4 days, because we'll be turning over the month, and we will thank them when we get there. We also would like to thank, again, just say thank you to Liz Wallace for her kind donation for something to talk about on this episode of Feed the People. And one of the things that we discussed doing before the show was also to say thank you to some of the people that have left reviews of this podcast. And we're going to read some of the 5-star reviews. Oh, can you believe it? They're all 5 stars. Those are the only ones I'm reading today. We won't go back through and read all the mean tweets that had been sent to Brooke leading up to this. She keeps her top 5 list handy. Don't worry, she's got them back from 2019 if you left them, okay? And she's got a good spirit about it. But we're going to read and we're going to say thank you, because they will know who they are. If they've gone through the process of donating their time and their time by taking the extra step and leaving us a kind review, we just wanted to say thank you. And so this one, oh, you know what? This one's shout out Nate Dogg. That must be who this is. I'm guessing it's Nate Dogg. I can't be specific. It's INOTATE, like I know Tate Nene. I have no idea what that means, but I'm just getting the feeling that I know Tate Nene is Nate Dogg. But he said, we need more honest conversations about regenerative agriculture and taking back the food supply chain into the hands of the people who want to make the world a better place. Thank you, lads. You are so welcome, Inote Nene. Probably Nate Dogg. This one I like. This one, the name of it was called, the title was called The Truth Hurts Sometimes. And this is from Duchess128. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna do this the voice that it deserves, okay? Because it's all caps to start. It is your civil duty to listen to this podcast! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! We are being destroyed from within. I would give this 10 stars if I could. Thank you, Duchess128. As a registered nurse of 24 years, COVID was truly an eye-opener for me. Being forced to take the jab or lose my entire livelihood and retirement was a pivotal moment in my life when I realized that the totalitarian shuffle is real and alive in this country. Being threatened to lose your professional license for, quote, spreading lies about the jab is another level of evil that has shaken me to the core. Growing up in farm country of upstate New York gave me the opportunity to learn and appreciate farming in the U.S. The patriots in this country need to stand up against the one world order that is coming down our path quickly if we don't do anything to stop it. Thank you for creating a platform to speak and hear the truth. I look forward to listening and sharing all of your podcasts, and I will stand up against the evil that is growing with insidious destruction around us. You give me hope that my children's children may still have freedom if we stand together.
Thank you for that. I think we should print that out and we should frame that review. Like
I'll do it. I will do it right now. And
It's the truth. It fires me up so much when I do get, like, I get messages on Instagram or people that respond or literally just send me. They're always just like wanting to let me know, wanting to send me some support. Like they just assume all the shit that I'm probably getting too, and it's really so comforting when you meet a stranger or someone like that leaving a review for us. That's like, they get it. It's like immediately we're like, our team just got bigger, which makes me feel better, and it should make you feel better. The more we come together, we're just going to get better.
We need to play that video, the dancing video at the concert, so that our listeners, our fans can know, like, this is what we believe. Oh, yeah. It's the you got the lone nut, then you got the second crazy nut that joins them, and then this is because that's what this is, a movement. I mean, this is a we the people movement. Yes, we're putting the platform together. Fortunately for all of you, we're not the only ones working on this, and even fortunately for us, there are other people attempting to do the same thing that we're doing. Mm-hmm. But this is a we the people movement, and you'll be able to know the right company who, here's what I'd say. If the people creating these companies are standing in front of it, you can count you. And then you get to know them, like, me, Brooke, Brooks, you're going to know other people on our team, because we feel like this, again, just like with this whole podcast is about, we have lost faith in the people that run our companies, run the companies that we support and buy from. And so we've made the decision, like, we're just going to stand in front of it. You can go on my Facebook, and there are some super cringy videos from a long time ago where I see them in my, like, oh, this was 5 years ago. And I'm like, shit, should I erase that? Because I'm embarrassed. But you know what? I'm leaving it because I'm human. This is my evolution. And if you want to know who I am and what I'm about, go back and look at my history. Go back and look clear back to when I got onto Facebook when it first started. That's who I am. We are those people. We are people just like you, who God called us to do something bigger than we were, and only by faith, and then by you guys coming on board after we got going, do we know that we're moving in the right direction. And so, yeah.
And to be honest with you, AJ, they're trying to normalize so much weird shit that I don't think one of our weirdest experiences or videos or photos could even rock the boat. No. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a great point.
Who cares? Oh, you found whatever. I was like, yeah. I was this age, and you know what? Yeah, it happened. Anyways, moving on. Next question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you go look up Athletic Steve on YouTube, you're right.
I remember Athletic Steve.
Nobody's going to care.
I remember him. Hey,
well, now I'm going to have to look up Athletic Steve, clearly.
Proving the point is the fact that the shit that's normalized right now, normal people don't have something that could even, what do they say? Sniff its jock.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
I've never heard that.
You haven't? No. Well, now you all know what kind of friends I have.
That is awesome.
Big dudes.
Yeah, dude. You don't know no jock sniffers, dude? You should get up out of here. You're just sniffing jocks.
That's funny.
We have another 5-star review, and oh my gosh, let's just go ahead and give her another shout out. She's just painting this show red. This is Liz Wallace, who has left us a 5-star comment. If you've been looking for your call to action, it's simple, and it starts here. I've been listening since episode 1 and following AJ's mission since I heard him on other favorite podcasts. And all I'll say is I come from a very different world and perspective that many people on this podcast. However, this podcast has actionably encouraged me, while not disregarding the deep spiritual awareness and human connectedness that we need to take on a plainly obvious corrupted empire. This is big work. This is God's work. We do not do any of this alone, and God within me has felt a little closer and tangible since adding this podcast into my weekly structure. So thank you, guys. What? What?
Wow,
that's great. Thanks, Liz.
Thank you, Liz Wallace.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. That to be, I mean,
it's almost just like
honest response is the fact that hearing something like that, it reaffirms in me so many things about what we're doing. You know, when you when you go out on a limb and you're trying to do something and trying to change the country, for the better, we all know sometimes those naysayers or negative people, like, they can be the loudest thing you see, you read, because a happy person doesn't really, bang on their keyboard and like send you stupid messages. So thank you for believing that, but thank you for actually leaving that for us so that we could read it and kind of have that as a really great reminder that we are doing exactly what we believe we are supposed to be doing, and that it's the message of how we feel that we are doing God's work, and we're basing that off of how we feel and the people that are coming into our lives. To have someone that's listening and watching and has joined in the fight with us to have the same vision, the same experience, and it just solidifies it even more. So thank you.
Absolutely. That is a currency, love language, or the love language is words of affirmation, and that is a currency. So when Brooks talks about time, talent, and treasure, certainly hearing from you guys that you appreciate what we're working towards and what we're trying to have happen, because there's a lot of risk here. There's a lot of energy and time and uncertainty that gets put into it. Well, we wake up, we go on bended knee, and we study the word, and then we ask where we need to be for the day, and it puts us right where we're supposed to.
Thank y'all. That's all I want to say. Thank y'all for doing it, for inviting me along. Thank you to all the listeners, and for people who are getting real value from this show. It's as important and as impactful as we're making it out to be. We really deeply appreciate the engagement and deeply appreciate the words of affirmation, because this is a project built on faith, and in a way, faith alone. So thank you to all the people that are donating your time, your talent, and your treasure. I am your producer, Brooks Meadows, and I'm here with your hosts of the Feed the People podcast, AJ Richards and Brooke Ence, and that is episode 17. We look forward to catching up with you next week for episode 18. Shake the hand that feeds you.